Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Clothier. This is another episode of the Grind Podcast. I am coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm in the REI Nation building, and I have what I thought was a super important topic, and it was based off of actually getting into a forum site for real estate. But today is all about business, and it's all about how you handle your business. But it came directly from a forum I was reading in real estate, and so I thought this was something super important that you guys should hear, but it's also a cliche. All right, so let me start with that first. This is not your same old podcast. I'm not going to talk for the next few minutes and give you a bunch of bullet point cliches that you've heard, 100 times before. I'm going to tell you how we've implemented this strategy and why. You hear all the time the importance of using the word no. We talk about the importance to our time as entrepreneurs. We talk about the importance to our businesses, helping us get focused. That's really what it is I'm going to talk about, but also from a standpoint of marketing and how we attract our ideal client, because we're willing to say no to those that are not our ideal client, and we tell people about it. So there's a little bit of a setup. Let me drive into some detail here. I don't know if any of you are aware of a website. It's called biggerpockets.com. Real estate website, probably the largest real estate website in the world at this point. Started by a good friend of mine. Well, that's probably overstating it. Josh and I are good friends. I know it's so funny to say it that way. I think we would both say, yeah, we're good friends, but it's not like we weren't in the same city. We didn't hang out all the time, but he and I spent a lot of time quite often on the phone, talking at night, just talking about each of our respective businesses and what was happening, how we were growing. We did a lot of stuff together, and we still are a very big sponsor of Bigger Pockets. And so, I'm in their forums all the time. I do not talk a lot in the forums. For anybody that knows me well, you're probably going to find that surprising because I love to talk. I just don't love to talk in all the forums. The team behind me is laughing at this point. I don't go into forums and just start, answering questions and throwing stuff out there if I'm not moved by the topic or if I can't relate to it. So I try and be very diplomatic by what I place. I only want to post things where I feel like I'm going to be able to have some influence. I ran across a post yesterday by a guy named James Wise. He's got a company called Holton Wise Property. I think it's Holton Wise Property Group. They're out of Ohio. I believe it's Cleveland. It's a free shout out. He didn't pay me to do this. He has no clue that I'm even talking about this right now. Maybe he'll find out on the back end, but he puts this post out there talking about why out-of-state investors are having trouble connecting with realtors. If you are an out-of-state investor and you found it difficult to get realtors in other locations to respond to you and do what you want them to do, he lists out this great analytical post where he goes into a deep dive detail on why and how little value those agents see from out-of-state investors for the most part, that a vast majority produce very little value for the amount of work that has to be done. Okay, the setup is done. In there, though, he makes this comment about when he gets these calls from out-of-state investors, he spends a lot of time right off the bat explaining to them that most likely the person he's talking to other than the line is a flake, someone who is not ever going to actually purchase a property, which is pretty blunt. That's pretty direct. He says he spends a lot of time trying to explain to them the reality of what it is they are trying to do, the low likelihood of success, the high amount of work that it takes. And it's the reason why he just doesn't have time to mess with people that are not serious and going to move quick. Those that think that they know more about a market or about investing than him. And of course, he'd be the first to tell you that sure, there's people out there that know more about both of those things, but most don't. And, he says that they won't always do business with him, and who knows who they're going to go do business with, but at least now they have a very reality checked understanding. Now they have a very reality checked outlook on, are you going to be successful? How do you not waste time with your agent? How do you make sure you get the highest amount of success, whether you're working with him or not? It's a really nice way of saying no to people and getting most people that call him to redirect in another way, because he knows that most are not going to be serious enough to move quickly when he's been that direct with them. But what he's also doing is he is attracting those that say, I'm absolutely serious. And at the same time, he's also attracting those middle ground people that say, well, I'm offended by how direct you're being, but also I appreciate how direct you're being, because in the end, it means you're going to give me greater attention if we do business, because you're not wasting your time trying to be everything to everybody. To me, it's a brilliant marketing tactic. It's a way of saying no while attracting your ideal client. So I'm giving a big shout out there to James. I went in, I made some comments on it. I've read the thread. And I just thought, it got me thinking about, how can I talk to my audience on the grind about using the word no? I'll tell you a story. Back when we first got started early on, this was probably 2009, maybe 2010 range, when we were doing, it was our build up to doing 300 homes in a year. We hadn't quite reached it at this time. And at any given time, we would have, I don't know, maybe 10 houses, maybe as many as 15 houses available. We didn't sell properties as fast back then. There wasn't as much demand. We didn't have our reputation. So we were still, in our infancy stages trying to grow. Hang on a second. So I get a call, all right? And I'm not going to use the gentleman's real name. I will tell you where he's from. He was out of Chicago. And I knew that he was doing, I knew that he was calling multiple people in Memphis just by the way he was talking to me. He was mentioning he'd already talked to some other people, but he had heard about us. He found us online. He may have seen us on Bigger Pockets. I don't know exactly how he came about knowing who we were, but I was the only person that was selling houses at the time. I took all of these calls, and he proceeds to tell me that he has a lot of money. He talks very big, talks very fast. He's my ideal client is what he's telling me, because he's got the wherewithal to buy. He wants to move quickly. He's a big swinger. He's been around, all the time. He knows what he's doing with real estate. And I proceed to tell him that, yes, at this time we have 11 houses available. They are all in Memphis because we haven't gone to Dallas yet. They're in multiple neighborhoods and zip codes around the city. It's well diversified. And he says, I'm telling you, without even going any further, I want to buy all 11 houses if they meet this criteria. And all of them met his criteria. They all did. But I told him, I said, because his criteria, let me go back, was all financial. It was just return based. It wasn't location based. It wasn't size of the house or anything along those lines. It was all return based. In theory, it wasn't a bad approach, but he wasn't asking the right questions. And I told the guy, I said, look, I would love to sell you all 11 houses. In fact, I want to, but I'm not going to. What I think we should do, you and I, buy these first 2 or 3 houses. Let's get them purchased. Let's get them closed. Let's make sure they're all occupied. Let's make sure they're all giving you the return you expect. Let's wait 90 days. At the end of 90 days, if you have enjoyed the process of, going through contract and closing and us getting the properties rented, mind you, we didn't have a customer service department back then. We didn't have this outstanding property management company at the level it is today. So this is still it's not in our infancy, I wouldn't say, but it's before we've made a lot of changes to become the company who we are today. So I'm telling this guy that make us earn the right for you to buy 11 houses from us. He was genuinely offended. In fact, I will never forget, he told me that I might be the worst salesperson he's ever met in his life, because I'm actually trying to not sell this guy. He's like, I want to buy you out. I want to buy everything you have available. But to me, and what he didn't understand, what I tried to explain to him, is that these houses, these are like gold to me. This is the most precious thing I have, because this is how I generate income for my company. But I don't want to generate income once. I want to generate income for years and years to come. So I want to build deep, long-term relationships. I want people that trust what I do. I want people that will not only buy from me for years to come, but I'll be the first thing they think of when they say, hey, I just got a bonus at work and I want to figure out how to invest it. Well, I want to go build my portfolio with those guys. That's definitely an option. I want to be the first person that they think of when their friends ask, hey, I know you're investing in real estate. What can you tell me? I want them to be like, you wouldn't believe how good this company is and how well they treated me, that they cared about my experience that I have. So I told the guy, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I will sell you 3 or 4 houses. I'll pick the 3 or 4 best that we have, the best returns, what you're looking for. Let's wait before we buy 11. If you like it all, I promise you, I will have 7 more for you 90, 120 days down the line, and you can buy them. We'll get you all the houses you want. We'll keep doing this, but make us earn it. Again, he says I'm one of the worst salespeople he's ever met. That was it for that conversation. But not surprising, I got 2 more phone calls from the guy. The first one I got was roughly 30 days later. Now, here's what's interesting about this phone call. By the time he calls me back, those 11 houses are gone, plus, a few more. We have no issue selling our homes. But I'm trying to attract people that are going to really, really value what we do and going to value that long-term relationship. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to attract the right person. I was willing to say no for it. So he calls me and says, you might be not only the worst salesperson, but the dumbest business person I've ever met, because I went and bought every house available from your competition. Okay. He ended up buying 14 houses. Because, Tennessee is an open area where you can see, we were able to go in and see that who he bought them from. And it's a stretch to say competition, but that's me being petty. They were a sales company that would sell houses and manage on the back end. So whatever. Okay. So he buys 14 houses, and I look at him and go, man, these areas are rough. These houses are a little bit older than what ours were. They were not newly renovated. They were a previous portfolio that they were willing to sell what this guy wanted. But they did what he said. I want to buy everything you got. I want to build a big portfolio fast. I know Memphis is awesome. The guy hadn't even been down here to look at the areas. Bought 14 houses. I just told him, look, best of luck with it. I hope you do well. I've already sold all the 11 you wanted to buy, so I'm feeling pretty good. I've got multiple investors that bought those houses, so I've got plenty of room to build relationships with multiple people at this point. I feel good, but best of luck to you. And I would not disparage the other company. I wouldn't use her name. I wouldn't say anything bad about them. Good luck. Well, I do get another call. I get that third phone call from him. It's just under 2 years later. I don't remember the exact time frame, but it was just shy of 2 years later. And of course, he knew we were the biggest home buyer and home seller in Tennessee at this point. I mean, we're rocking and rolling. We've left everyone behind. And he calls and says, look, I've got this portfolio there in Memphis that I want to sell. I want to know if you'd be willing to buy it from me. And I already knew where the houses were. And I told him, I said, there's not a chance. There's absolutely not. There's no way I would buy these houses. They're not in areas that we work in. They're not in conditions that we would want to own. They're not good investments. He tells me that he's either going to sell them or he's going to dump them. He's probably going to lose some money on them. So if we want to make him an offer, make him an offer. We decline. Excuse me. We don't buy the houses. I see that he does dump eventually all of these houses because you can see in the records. Some he was able to sell for a little bit more than what he paid. Most he sold for a little bit less, a lot less than what he paid. He absolutely lost money on this deal. He never made money, never made a return. It was all paper to begin with. The company he bought from never did anything to earn his trust, to earn the right for him to own all those houses with him. I knew from the beginning that this was the wrong way to go about building a portfolio. I knew to say no. This was not the right guy. Since then, we've built this reputation of we say no more than we say yes. We get several hundred. This month, it's already over 700 people have raised their hand and said, hey, can I do business with you guys? Our answer is no, to a majority. A majority, they just can't. We're not the right fit for them. They're not the right fit for us. We'll spend time with them on the phone and help point them in the right direction. But it really serves as an attractor for everyone else that wants to do business with us, because when you tell somebody that I tell people no out of my concern for you and the experience you're going to have. If I spend time trying to sell everybody that wants to do business with me, I cannot be the best version of myself, the best version of my company for those that I really fit well. That's a concept. That's what it means, that cliche of learn the value of the word no, learn how to say no. What it really means is learn how to be able to value what you do and the relationship you have with your client so much that you're willing to bypass business so that you can be the best version of yourself, the best version of your company for those that you say yes to. It's not about this thing of owning your time and taking back your time and best use of your time. It is, how are you able to really maximize being the best version of who you are for those that matter most, and that is your client that you're doing business with. Hopefully that resonated with you guys. If James Wise, if you hear this out there, leave me a comment. Let me know you heard it. Let me know that you're listening. I value everything that you put out there on Bigger Pockets. I think you're a great commentator out there. You're doing some great stuff with Holton Wise. So there's a free little plug for you, my man. Outside of that, guys, if you're listening to this podcast, gals, everybody out there, please, if you have comments, leave them. If you have questions, send them. We're here to, I want to provide value for you. So if you're enjoying the podcast, let me know what you want to hear more of. Let me know what you needed me to go into greater depth on, and I'm there. I'm all for it. Until then, guys, commit to the grind, and we will see you next Friday. Y'all take care.